It's that time again. It is mystery box time. This thing is pretty big, pretty substantially heavy. So let's jump into it and see what I have to DIY with this time. This is Whiskey and Whit. My name's Whitney, and on this channel I'd love to share DIYs and home decor, tips, tricks, and tutorials around getting a DIY home that you love. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a future Whiskey and Whit video. So if you're new to the mystery box challenge, it was created by Courtney over at Creative on the Cheap, and she gets a list of YouTubers. We do this every other month. You get a name, we pack up a box, we send it to the next YouTuber, and they have to DIY with the items in the box. There's some challenging items in the box, and then also there's some sort of twist. So I packed up a box and sent it over to Kristen. Her channel is Kristen K if you're not familiar. So after this video, you'll be heading over there to see what I packed up for her. And my box here that I am going to open is from Jamie over at the Crafty DIY Guy. Now, if you guys have been keeping score and following along, he sent me a box last time. He sent me this like really gross like container of soup from Dollar Tree. I still have nightmares about it, but we cleaned it out. We made some Christmas spells. We did the things. So fingers crossed there's not icky soup in here again, but you know, if there is, we will just press on. The other thing he sent me was a ton of glitter. He said no glitter this time. We'll see if we believe it. So while I'm cracking this box open, a little bit more about this specific challenge. So this is a dollar store box. So you could do like Dollar General, Dollar Tree, Dollar Zone. I ended up doing Dollar Tree and Dollar General. Awesome find. So you gotta go over and check out what I sent Kristen. I can't wait to see what she made with that biting box. So there's a letter here on the top, so we're gonna open that first. I hope you love everything and you make magic. He shopped at the 99 cents only store, Dollar Tree, and Dollar General. All my crafty love, Jamie. Oh, this is cute. So everyone will have a printout like this that the person that packed the box filled out. In my DIYs, think about this as we're going through everything. I have to use the color blue. I have to use the material wood, and embellishment is fabric. And you know what? In honor of the fact that I sent my box to Kristen K, I'm pulling a Kristen K. I usually save my challenge items to last. We're doing them first. So here's the first one. Jamie is always good at putting it in cute bags and making everything adorable. He did it. Challenge item number 1, rubber ducks. I don't know if that's better or worse than the soup. Rubber ducks it is. Maybe I'll work on doing the challenge items first, but we've got some rubber ducks I must use. And number 2 is Halloween chain. What? Okay, well, at least that hard part is over with now, so we'll just go on to the next. We have some Dollar Tree faux leather sign that says seeking soulmates, clean, single, and lonely. And then I've got 3 of these little windows. Oh, these are cute. We've got a Wi-Fi sign. Okay, we got a massive Jenga situation, tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. Okay, there's a good amount of like little signs in here. So there is a heart, there is a Catch Me by the Sea sign, wood picket sign, house, little canvas on an easel sign, little Lazy Susan here, so you can see it's spinning. Jeez, Jamie, you like went to town. You sent me a bunch of stuff. 2 different colors of nautical rope. We've got a pallet sign, which is totally my jam. A little Chase Lounge. Faux leather ribbon. It's like a burgundy color. Variety pack of dowel rods. A container of little fabric strips. Little Dollar Tree truck. And activity cubes. These are also from the Target Dollar Spot. He sent me a ton of stuff, so I'm gonna have to take some time, figure out what am I gonna do with all of this stuff, and then I will meet you back here. It'll be about 2 seconds for you, a couple days for me, and we're gonna get crafting. So we are going to do spring and Easter DIYs today. I don't know about you, but I am so over this cold weather. We've gotten a lot of snow here in Illinois. So we are gonna go full blown into the spring season. It is March after all. So first up, I am reaching for these staples from Dollar Tree, both the white and the jute nautical rope.
So I thought that the white nautical rope would go really well with this bunny wreath form I just found at Dollar Tree. but I was worried that I wouldn't have enough to just do the one strand, and I didn't have any more at my house. So I decided to separate the rope into the 3 separate strands instead of the one thicker strand with one piece. That helped me get a little bit more length out of it, and it was a lot easier to wrap around my wreath form. So I started in between the ears, give myself a couple knots so it wouldn't go anywhere, and then I just started wrapping. It was a pretty quick process, like 10 minutes, and I wanted to make sure that it was wrapped tight enough that I didn't have any gaps, but you don't want to pull it too tight because these wreath forms from Dollar Tree are not the most high quality. So if you pull it too tight, it can bend the wires and you'll lose your shape. Once the entire bottom circle was wrapped, then I continued on up each ear and just did a real quick light wrap around the ears to finish off the white framing of my shape. To get from one ear to the other, I just took the piece of rope and put it in between one of the pieces in the center there, so then that way it was hidden and it wasn't sticking out anywhere. I had just enough, like I could not have planned this any better, that it would work out perfectly. I had a little bit of a tail left and I tied that onto my original tail and my white piece was done. So then, because I thought the bunny was a little blah with just the white, I added some felt to it. So I grabbed it from my stash and decided to make some hand cut felt flowers. I started by cutting a circular shape. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. Oval will work just fine. And then I cut about a 1/2 inch piece and I started to create a spiral. So here I'm just turning my piece, cutting a spiral until I get to the end, and you want probably about a nickel sized piece left at the bottom. It all depends on how large your flower is going to be. And depending on the size of your original oval shape, that's when you'll know. Then I started at the end opposite the circle that I just cut, so basically the first piece that you cut, and start wrapping it. The key here is that you want to pick whatever your bottom's going to be and make sure the edges line up. If you're cutting it by hand, it's not going to be perfect on the other ends, but that's fine. It's going to give it some character. Just make sure that you're wrapping and using a little bit of hot glue as you go. Then I'm adding a final dab on the bottom and folding over that little circle. You can do any fluffing or trimming that you need, and you've got a cute little felt flower. Now I did that a few more times in a variety of different sizes with both my dark purple and light purple. Then I also decided I wanted to add some green. So the light green is from Dollar Tree and the other one is just from Walmart. So 2 different pieces of felt. Felt is super cheap. I cut a variety of different leaf shapes by hand. You know, as you can see, just kind of 2 curves on either side. I added some hot glue in the center to make them 3D. You just pinch it together and that'll give it a little bit of pop instead of having it be flat on your bunny. And then I laid out everything to kind of do a dry fit before I glued it down, so I kind of knew where everything should fit as far as my large and small flowers. Once everything was where I wanted it, I went back through with hot glue to make sure everything was hooked down. I did my best to make sure that the leaves were underneath some flowers so you didn't see the ends. And if you have any pieces that have went astray, just add a little bit of hot glue and glue it to another piece so it stays where you want it. I ended up having to add a couple more flowers and a couple different sizes of leaves around the outside and inside of the other leaves just to kind of give it the look that I want. Here you can be creative and really just do whatever you're feeling. Once everything was glued, I gave it a final fluff. I added a little bit of jute twine so that I could hang it up, and my wreath was complete. I absolutely love this, and it could be 100% Dollar Tree if you wanted it to be because they do sell the felt. And I didn't realize how easy it was to hand cut felt flowers until I tried it for something else, and so now I think I'm going to put felt flowers on everything. Up next, I am grabbing that little fence picket sign and we are going to make some really fun Easter tags. I started with my jigsaw and I cut up the line of each of the pickets so that I had 4 separate pieces that kind of looked like arrows. Friendly reminder, when you're working with the jigsaw, make sure that you have your safety goggles on and you follow all safety precautions. Then I moved on to my miter box to cut off the tips and cut my pieces into 2 rectangles. I love this miter box. It's really nice, especially in the winter here in Illinois when it's cold and I don't want to break out my whole saw because I don't have a workshop. Then to make tags, all you need to do is cut 2 45-degree angles on either side. And then I used a drill bit, whatever size works, to fit jute twine through. This is just one I found in our garage. and drilled a hole. I also decided to cut the pointier tip off the top just so it looked more like a cow tag. Then after sanding it, I stained them all with some dark stain. This is Briar Smoke by Wreath, but you can use whatever you want or paint them. And then I also grabbed some of these bunny ornaments that I had in my stash from a recent Dollar Tree haul and spray painted them white. Then when those were dry, I just took some hot glue, added them to my little tags, and this was such an easy project. After the tags were all assembled, I added some jute twine, and these are so cute. I think I might add like initials or names on the back when I do Easter baskets for my nieces and nephews and cousins this year, also for Finn, but these are so quick and easy. If you want to make these, I would suggest creating your tags out of some paint stir sticks. Don't like have to go out and cut a sign like I did. This was just for the mystery box.
Up next, I'm reaching for this box of tumbling tower / Jenga pieces.
So with these, I am looking to make a ledge similar to what you would have when you play the game Scrabble. So I thought I needed probably 5 to 6 pieces in width, and I also needed the same amount for the back. I also decided that I wanted to use these little Dollar Tree eggs, similar to the bunnies I used in the last project, to be my little faux Scrabble pieces. So I kind of used them to space everything out, and I realized I needed 6 pieces in width, so I just used some gel super glue from Dollar Tree and glued them all together. I needed 2 strips of 6 Jenga pieces total, or tumbling tower blocks, because Dollar Tree can't call them Jenga due to copyright. Then once those were dry, I glued the back on so that I had a little ledge for everything to lean on. You could also use hot glue. I just really like the gel super glue. Then I went through and stained it, and I got a little too aggressive because I popped it in half. No worries, I just re-glued it when I got back inside. Same color, Briar Smoke. Then I did some purple, yellow, blue, and pink eggs. These were just paints that I had in my stash. These would also be really pretty to stain them as well. Then it was time to assemble. So I cut out letters 1 inch tall to spell out Easter, and I just picked a font in Cricut Design Space. And because this wasn't too funky of a font, I just decided to peel them off myself and put them on by hand instead of having to use transfer tape. Figured out a pattern that I liked, applied everything, and then I grabbed 2 of my white spray painted bunnies from the last project because I figured they would look cute on this little ledge. Then the last step is assembly, so I took my 2 bunnies, used some hot glue, and attached them to the small ledge in the back. I also evenly spaced all of my letters. I like to work my way from the middle out just to make sure everything is spaced. If you start on the left-hand side, you might realize by the time you get to the right, you don't have enough space. And here you have it. You could spell out your last name, you could spell out kids' names, you could say Happy Easter, whatever you want here. I think this turned out super cute. In my head it looked like this, but sometimes it doesn't translate, and I'm so glad this project did.
I'm reaching for these little dowel rods that Jamie sent me, and I'm also going to incorporate the challenge category of fabric.
Step 1 is to stain, so I grabbed 2 of the largest dowel rods that matched from the pack from Jamie, and I stained them with Briar Smoke by Wreath. Everything in this video is that color. Then I grabbed some of my scrap drop cloth. I've used this for so many projects and it is still kicking. I absolutely love that I can get so many uses out of a $10 drop cloth. So here I am cutting it down so that it will fit between my 2 sticks to look like a scroll, because we're going to make a flower market scroll. And now it's time for our wording. So I designed this myself, so this will be a free download over on my blog, whiskeyandwhit.com. The link is down in the description if you want to make this yourself. And once that was weeded, I am trying out a new heat press from HTV Ront, and they sent this to me to test out. It's very similar overall to the Easy Press that you've seen me use before. However, it does have these 2 side handles, and the other really cool feature that I like about this one is that it has a pressure gauge. So as you push down when you're doing a heat press, it will tell you your temperature and it has a timer. But then also, as you see that number on the bottom left, as I push harder, it is going to go up and down. That's going to let you know if you're applying light, medium, or heavy pressure to your project, and that helps for a variety of different types of heat transfer items. I will link this down below if you're in the market for a heat press. It worked really well for me for these projects. Then I'm going to do a quick press on my drop cloth piece just to make sure it's flat. I'm going to add my heat transfer vinyl, and if you have questions about how to cut it, I've got a full materials guide. I will link that down below so that you can cut this on your own machine, pressing it at 325 for about 30 seconds. This heat transfer vinyl is also from HTV Ront, so I will link that as well. I really like it because it's a nice matte. It's a cold peel, but it worked really well the first time. It cut really well on my Cricut. Then the final step is assembly, so I'm taking a hot glue line across the top, trying to get it as straight as I can, adding my first dowel rod and repeating the same step on the bottom. I like to use Gorilla Glue hot glue sticks in all of my projects. They are heavy duty, so when I'm making pillows or fabric, things like this, things with wood, etc., it will all grip really well. After all the edges are trimmed, then I'm going to add my hanger. So I'm taking a doubled up piece of jute twine on one side and looping it around the dowel rod, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side and then tie the two at the top. You could glue it on the back like I have done before, but I liked that look. Overall, super easy to do. If you're looking to recreate this and you don't have the dowel rods, I've also done it with paint stir sticks or scrap wood. So there are a ton of different options, but like I mentioned, this file is free over on my blog if you would like to recreate it or use it for another project.
So in my box were a ton of different blank signs, which you guys know that I love. So I'm going to take a ton of these. We've got a little love sign, a little house, some other Dollar Tree signs, and we're gonna combine these into some fun home decor.
All right, so this first one's gonna be the palette sign, and it is easy peasy. I'm grabbing one of these color your own packs of bunnies from Dollar Tree, as well as this really pretty floral vinyl. I saw this and I knew I had to have it. I didn't know what for, and it worked perfect for this. So I'm laying my bunny down on it and cutting a piece that is just slightly bigger than my bunny, and then I'm gonna lay it down and trace it on the back of the vinyl. To get it exactly, I'm gonna cut this by hand, but this is vinyl that you can also use in your Cricut machine. Then don't get too crazy peeling because I accidentally ripped it, but I was able to fix it, so no harm, no foul there. I got it all lined up, applied it, and then I just needed to take some hot glue and stick it to my sign. I'm a huge floral fan, so I thought this turned out super cute. It looks really nice with my new tulips I got from the Target Dollar Spot, these blush pink ones, and it was a less than 5-minute DIY. And it also counts for my blue, so we'll check that off too. Up next, we're going to combine a few other signs. So we're going to take the Catch Me by the Sea, take a flathead screwdriver and pop off this front piece because we're going to use the plaque from the other sign. I'm going to pop off the Wi-Fi hashtag sign from the heart sign and use that as a placard on the front. So I'm going to use that floral vinyl, and I'm using it again, kind of like contact paper that you can get at Dollar Tree. So if you don't have a Cricut, don't sleep on the vinyl section. You can use the printed ones like this to cover items really easily, and you can cut them by hand. I'm applying that to the top, trimming any excess. And then I'm going to paint over that plaque with just some black chalk paint, so then that way I can cover everything and I've got a clean neutral surface. Once that's dry, I glued it on, and then I use my Cricut to cut out the word welcome as well as network and password so that I can have the sign for my guest room for our Wi-Fi information. I'm using my paper transfer tape from Expressions Vinyl. You guys know that I love this, and I love it because it is the lowest tack of what I have. And so it's going to pick up my design and allow me to apply it, but it's not going to peel off the paint or that floral vinyl that I just worked hard to apply. If you want to be able to switch this out too, you could easily have painted the plaque with some chalkboard paint, and then you could write on that and chalk and erase it if you have to change your password often. I am loving that floral vinyl so much. Up next, I am grabbing the house wood piece that Jamie sent, and I am staining that with that Briar Smoke by Varathane. And then we're going to take that and we're going to attach it to this love sign to use it kind of as a kickstand. It lines up perfectly behind it, and I needed something to allow my house to stand up, so I'm just taking some hot glue and gluing those two together. Then I'm going to use my felt flower technique from my bunny wreath to create little flowers, so a little bit smaller of a starting circle, but same process, in all of the colors of the rainbow to create a fun little rainbow garden. I also took a piece of green felt and cut just a little bit of fringe in it and glued it to the bottom of my sign to act as grass. Once all of my flowers were done and all the colors of the rainbow, I took some hot glue and stuck them to my sign. And then when everything was stuck, I used a white paint marker to add some stems. I personally like that they're not the same size, but if you have a Cricut machine and want them all to be uniform, you could cut out the felt with that as well. It's also a nice alternative to just putting a Cricut decal on signs all the time, and these you can cut by hand.
Honestly, I absolutely love this sign. I think it's a cute idea with the little clips for the Seeking Soulmate, but we're going to do a fun take on this for a spring flower market.
So when I originally looked at this, it made me think of how people hang flowers upside down kind of on hangers to dry out. And so that's kind of what I ran with, and I thought about lavender. So I opened it up, popped off all of those little clips on the front just with a flathead screwdriver, and gave it a good sand with a little sanding block so that I didn't have any of that adhesive left over. Then I gave it 3 to 4 coats of white chalk paint. It took forever to cover those black lines, but it was worth it. Then once that dried, I just cut out a design that I found on Design Bundles, which I'll link down below, and it is fresh cut French lavender. So I ended up cutting a light purple, a dark purple, and a green so that I had a few different colors here to work with. You could also easily just use one piece of vinyl and then paint the different areas different colors. I applied it piece by piece with my Expressions vinyl transfer tape. I also had a V issue there, so I had to cut out another one to stick in there. We all have issues weeding sometimes. And then to finish it off, I just took these pieces of lavender that I got from Walmart. These are just their cheap picks. I think they're like $1.50 in their floral section, and I love their lavender. So I cut them, put 2 or 3 pieces together in like a little sprig, wrapped them up so they looked like bundles because the file says sold by the bundle, and I glued one onto each side, and that also helped add some color. Now here, the way that it's done, I could have removed the hanger, but I actually like it. So it will sit up on its own, but it can also hang above my blanket ladder here where I like to put so many of my signs. I love the color purple. It's my favorite, and I really like how it looks within my spring decor. When I saw these 3 window panes that Jamie sent me, I immediately thought of like a window box for flowers. So the first thing I did was take all 3 of them with some super glue and hook the edges together. While that was drying, I went outside and I grabbed my miter box and some leftover fence pickets I had from a previous project, and I cut 2 pieces to 17 inches wide, which is the width of my windows, and then I also cut 2 pieces for the depth that I wanted my box to be. These ended up being like 4 inches. Once everything was cut, I took some wood glue and put it on the edges of my 2 smaller pieces, and then used clamps to hook it together. Because this isn't going to be holding any weight, I didn't worry about putting any nails or anything in it, and I let the wood glue actually dry for a few hours while I was working on other projects. Once that was done, I brought it inside and I painted it white. Once it was dry, I just dressed it with just a little bit of sandpaper, and then I added this decal that I designed, so it'll be free over on my blog as well. I love this quote. It's by Laura Ingalls Wilder, and it is speaking to my heart that wants spring so badly. My last step was to attach my windows, and I just used my Gorilla Glue hot glue to do that to the top back edge. This is perfect, and it is the perfect size for my large tulips I recently got at the Target dollar spot for spring. I can lay them in there and take them out. Nothing's hooked to anything, so they can be for spring. I can switch it out, and I also did the vinyl decal in removable vinyl. So if I want to switch this out and just touch up any paint, I can do that as well. So this could be used year-round for fall, Christmas, pumpkins, all the things.
Now, I was super stumped with this next challenge item, these little ducks. Well, I decided that I was going to combine them for a cute project for Finn's bathroom. I'm also going to loop in this little Lazy Susan as well as the fabric strips that he sent me in the box.
So to start, I took the Lazy Susan from the Target dollar spot and I stained it with briar smoke because that matches my decor a lot better. Then I decided to take some super glue and glue the 3 ducks to the top of 3 jars I had in my stash from Dollar Tree. So once my ducks were glued on, I took some of the fabric from the box and used them as pseudo ribbon to wrap it around and tie on these little hand cut tags. To do this, all you've got to do is cut some rectangles, cut 2 edges off like I showed before, pop a hole in it, and you can write on it whatever you want. I tied them up, put them on the Lazy Susan, and this will be awesome in the bathroom because I can put it underneath the sink and just tilt it to whatever I need. And it's easy to do one-handed, which moms know is a great plus.
For this next one, we're grabbing the Dollar Tree bamboo cutting board. I'm also grabbing this cute little red truck that he sent me, as well as this little easel to combine for a really fun Easter piece.
So my first step before I go to paint or stain anything is to take a flathead screwdriver and remove the canvas around my small canvas. I'm not going to use the easel for this project, so I just needed to get the canvas off. I popped it off, put the fabric to the side, and then took the wood and the cutting board outside as well as the little truck. I stained both the wood frame from the canvas as well as the cutting board, and then I also spray painted my little truck with some flat white spray paint. While the stain was drying, I brought my truck inside and I painted over the white with a just really pretty powder blue color. I ended up then drawing on black wheels, some gray windows. I did the grill, headlights. Now I had some Dollar Tree carrots, but they were way too large for this truck, and so I decided to use this little chocolate mold that I'd recently got at Michael's. If you've been around for a while, you know that I have been loving making hot glue shapes, and so I decided to do some carrots for this project. All you need is a silicone mold. You take your glue gun, you fill it up with hot glue, tap your mold against the table so everything settles, and then just let it cool. Because it's silicone, you'll be able to pop it right out, and then I just painted over it just like it was an unfinished wood piece or something. So orange and green on all three of these, and those fit in the back of the truck perfectly. For my reverse canvas, I cut out a little 3x3 design on also heat transfer vinyl and pressed it the exact same way that I did our little fresh flower market hanger. And then when that was done, I peeled off the carrier sheet and then trimmed the excess and used hot glue to reattach the canvas to the frame. What I love about this is both of these items can be arranged on the bamboo cutting board to look like a little vignette, but you can also separate them and use them for tiered trays. So this little blue truck, Finn has already claimed it. It is going to live in his room, and this little Peter Cottontail sign will be great for my tiered trays for Easter. And finally, here we are at our final challenge item, the chain. Now, Jamie told me that he thought this would be easy for me, and I don't know if I was just missing the boat here, but I wanted to share this because not every project turns out for me, and I thought that was important to share. So I broke the chain apart because it was easy to do so, and I decided to wrap it in jute twine. My goal here was to create a bunny that I could use for a tiered tray. I figured I'd wrap it in jute twine, add some ears and a tail, and it would look adorable. While I wrapped it, I cut out some ears originally and the ears did not work. So then I cut out 2 separate ears, glued them on, and then just added a little pom-pom tail. And I cannot not see a gremlin when I look at this. Now, it's not terrible, but I just have named it the Gremlin Bunny. And, you know, it's going to be one of those things. Courtney has a mange tree from a few boxes ago. Like this will just go in my collection of fails, and that's okay. That's totally okay, because that's the whole part of creativity. Not everything's gonna work out, but you know, we tried, and I will now just laugh at the Gremlin Bunny for years to come.
Thanks so much for watching, and a huge thank you to Jamie for that awesome box. I had a great time creating there. Let me know down in the comments your favorite project, as well as what would you have done with those challenge items. Up next for you is Kristen K's video. I'm so excited to head over and see what she created. And as always, a huge thank you to Courtney over at Creative on the Cheap for putting these together. This is our second full year that we've done this. It was March 6th, 2020. I remember that because it was the week that Finn was born that we started doing these, and they are absolutely a blast. So continue to let us know in the comments if you enjoy this, because that is what keeps them going, because you guys like to watch them. Thanks again for watching. Hit subscribe if you're new so you don't miss a future video, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!